Recording in progress.
Welcome everyone to our functional conditioning class. So this is a class that hopefully everything that we do here we could apply in some type of way to just our everyday life. And if it doesn't transition exactly into a movement, then at least we're developing strength to help your everyday life as well. So and with that being said, dumbbells, hopefully we have those around, some body weight exercises, and then not too much core. I want to keep the core for my folks that are coming around at 10 o'clock in the next hour, where we'll be doing some core and then some balance work for that class. A little bit of stretching, but that's what we're focusing on there. So good morning everyone. Let's go ahead and begin with our warm-up. So let's start by looking left to right. So we'll be doing our functional conditioning routine plus a little bit of leg work. If you were with me yesterday, we did a little bit more upper body. So the plan for today is to do, movements that help us out on our everyday life, up and down, and then some leg exercises. And then for tomorrow, we'll flip it. So we'll do those helpful strength movements and some upper body work tomorrow. Just so we have a little variety. This is the two classes, this one and the next one, that we don't have a 1 day gap. It's just back to back, Friday and Saturday. Our other classes, we go Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday. So just make sure things don't get too repetitive. As I mentioned earlier this week, I think we were talking about it, or last week, I forget. Right arm across. In about 2 weeks, July 11th, so 2 weeks from tomorrow, we will be meeting in person, hopefully for a walk at Miles Square Park, or at a Starbucks near Miles Square Park. And we'll get together. This is I was gonna say our annual meetup, but how would you say every 3 years meetup? Hopefully we could change that to an annual. Let's switch. And then reminder, next week we will just have video recordings for this class and the next one for both Friday and Saturday. Okay, so due to the holiday, I think I mentioned yesterday that we would possibly be skipping Thursday as well, but I had some confusion where the other place I work at. But next week we'll meet Monday through Thursday, not Monday through Wednesday. Okay. All right, let's reach up towards the ceiling. So again, we'll try to get a little bit more out of this warm-up today. It's not a full-on strength and conditioning class. We still want to, move our body in ways that we may need to move it underneath. So, maybe you lost a shoe under your bed or under the couch and you need to reach down there to get it. Maybe we'll do some floor stuff like that. I know I always try to reach for when I have to replace the toilet paper rolls, in the bathrooms. Let's switch. And for some reason, we put those in a very inconvenient shelf in our laundry room. So if I wasn't 1 inch taller, I probably could reach it every time. But I'm not. I'm on the shorter side. Hi, Jan. So let's do our single arm windmills. So just gentle here. So I either have to use Julian's stool that he uses to brush his teeth. So I make use of that, or I have to jump on top of the washer and reach for it. But I'm trying to reach a little bit more, but I'm done with trying to hop on one leg to try to reach for it, because, like I said, I think everyone knows I have pretty tight calves typically, so any type of sudden jumps, I'm just asking to hurt myself.
Do you have one of these, Julio?
I don't know. I did as like a little kid. I remember those.
You
But
got one.
so what I do sometimes is I'll get like a Windex bottle or like a little bottle like this, and that gives me a few. This sanitation bottle gives me 3 extra inches, so I could hook. I like stab the plastic and then I pull it down. So that's what I. If it's around, that's what I'll do. So let's do our trunk rotations.
Helps instead of trying to get on your knees and get something. They
Yeah.
get my
And then I also have my slippers. So whenever I'm kneeling, I take my slippers off and I kneel on my slippers as well because yeah, we don't have carpet, so there's some places where it just aches a little bit more. But I'm getting around. I'm finding tricks. Oh, so
You're a lot younger, Julio, than we are.
Oh,
Come on.
man.
It's a little stiffer as you grow, get older.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping these classes keep me young through our ab circles.
Yeah, you got to keep moving.
Yeah. So, because I can tell you that a lot of my coworkers, my age, or a little bit older, maybe 5, 10, 15 years older. Not all of them. A lot of them are active too because just the field I work in. But a lot of them are other ones. They are. Let's just say they call a 10-minute walk once a week. That they're keeping up with their fitness or their health. So which is good. I'm not gonna take that away from them, but as you may know, just a walk around the block isn't gonna cut it. Not if you want your hips to move a certain way or your back not to ache. And let's do big hula hoops. And I wanna at least be faster than Julian until he's like 13 or 14. So maybe 15, but I could see my risk of injury increasing in 15 years. So as he's getting faster. Switch. So let's go ahead and switch. Just big hula hoops. So for those of you that just joined, just a reminder, next week we'll meet Monday through Thursday. Friday and Saturday, due to the holiday, we will not meet. Okay? How's everyone feeling? I see some of you that have been with me since Monday, so this is already Friday, 5 days straight with me. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of, I guess I could call it balance, but more mobility. So just hip openers here. Is anyone just like, I'm done with this guy. This is my 5th day working out with him, and I don't know what I'm doing here. I should just turn off the computer.
It keeps me going, except I haven't been good at getting in this week for other reasons.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah.
So,
That switch. Yeah, there's a.
I think we get sick of you, Julio.
Thank you.
You have good conversations.
Sometimes.
So you bring up all the good food.
Not as much as I used to.
No.
Yeah. I always bring up that one morning that it was Sharice, it was you, myself, and another student. And remember, we were told pretty much to be quiet and just stretch. It was a Sunday morning, 7 a.m. class. And Sharice and I are just talking how our weekend's going. And the other person wasn't talking. And on the chat, they just commented something like, is this a talking class or is it a stretching class? And we just didn't say anything for the next hour.
Very careful now.
I was like, okay, whenever this student logs in, I guess I'll just, You know, just monkey see, monkey do here.
That was early class. I had to. You gotta talk or keep going
Yeah.
while you stretch.
I never asked for that class again because Sunday morning at 7, I think my wife was upset with me too because I would ask to leave family functions early just because I wanted to, I had to get up early on a Sunday. She's like, "What teacher teaches on a Sunday at 7 in the morning?" Let's do our hamstring stretch. So grab your ankles, drop your hips, and come up. Very good. Deep squat. So if you didn't join us yesterday, and if you're in that restorative mobility class, we had a really good session on the floor. We did most of the class just stretching on the floor. So if that's something that you want to follow along, I sent the recording yesterday, but it should be on the front page of Canvas. But yeah, that was a good session. And then our last one, we did this in that class yesterday, but we're just gonna sit on our heels. So again, just keep your feet flat behind you and just sit on your heels. Hopefully it doesn't cause any pain, and if it does, you could just kind of hang out for a second. There's really not, or do your ABCs with your ankles. This stretches the tendons on the front part of your feet. Yeah, I think the very first summer I lived here, so 4 years ago, back in 2022, that summer we didn't have Monday through Saturday classes. I still had 6 classes, and then now we're gonna go ahead and bend our toes. So tuck your toes underneath your feet and then gently sit back. So we still had the 6 classes, but it was a very random schedule. I think it was like Monday and Wednesday we met at 9 and at 5 p.m. So 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. And then Saturday I think at 7, and then Sundays at 7. And yeah, I was just like those 5 p.m. classes, let's reach out here and then just kind of lean forward. Those 5 p.m. classes were in the summer were not fun, to say the least. Alright, let's switch. Promise you we're about to start. Just towards the end of the week. These are, I don't want to say our less demanding classes, but as the name of these courses state, they technically are a little bit less taxing on the body than our Monday through Thursday. Okay? Alrighty, so let's go ahead and grab your equipment. Other than that, just dumbbells, chair, yoga mat, any extra little stuff that you may have around, that's fine. Mini band, kettlebell. But yeah, I'll give you a minute to grab those items. Very good. All right. Let's go ahead and begin the session. All right. So, as mentioned earlier, a lot of these movements are to supplement and a little bit complementary to the movements that you do on your everyday life. So, first movement we're going to be doing, like I said, we're going to be targeting the legs a little bit more. It's going to be dumbbell halo lunges, okay? So that's when we're here, and you could turn the dumbbell side to side or do small circles. And if you don't have a dumbbell or your arms are just a little bit tired, you could just keep your arms up and just gently rotate them. And we're going to be doing that as we're doing a walking lunge, okay? So we're doing that. Not that you folks are doing that on everyday tasks, walking around in lunges, but that's one thing that we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and do inchworms to sky reach rotation. Okay, so if you remember that one, we're going to be here, inchworm. Once you're here, you're just going to turn your body and reach, okay? If we can't rotate and we're not confident here with our arm, what you could do is just do a shoulder tap and then rise back up, okay? So at least that gives you a split second where you are supporting yourself with just one arm, okay? Otherwise, do the rotation, okay? Ice skaters, for that one, targeting legs, a little bit more flexibility. That's gonna be if you're here, to here, to here, okay? Ice skaters, and then fire hydrants. So we are gonna be on the floor. We're here, and then side, back down, side, back down. So remember, this is gonna be a little bit more lower body. So, all right, ready? We're gonna do 2 rounds of this one, okay? So 2 rounds of the giant set. Let me grab that dumbbell. Okay, and lunges, we are doing 16. Ready, and begin. So I'm just gently, you see my hands just moving, reset, side to side. You could have carried your cat, Jan. Got the cat dizzy doing the lunges. I went to go see Toy Story 5 yesterday. It's pretty good. Okay, then my arms get tired, so I'm just gonna hold the dumbbell up. Okay, so that's 8. I want to do 16. If your arms are just completely dead, you could just drop that dumbbell and try on the next one. Put that dumbbell down. Again, it is conditioning, so I do want people to get 30 to 40 seconds rest. I have I think a 15 or 16 mile run planned tomorrow morning. And I was trying to think where I want to run. I was like, where can I run that much before the 9 a.m. class? So, unfortunately, the easiest route would be to just run along the river canal, which could be very boring. So, but whatever. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna do 8. Okay, so 8 of these inchworms with the rotation. So if you're doing the rotation, it's gonna be 4 on each side. If you're doing the shoulder taps, then just come back up, okay? Ready? And begin. So inchworm, crawl out, so no rush here. Rotate up, come back. That's 1. Definitely a slower movement here. 2. Doing some upper body strength as you're planking out. A little bit of balance. And your legs are being extended, getting a nice stretch. I guess a little bit of a plank too. So full body movement on this one. All right, now I have one more on each side. Good job. Almost there. And time. Whew. A little bit of cardio with that one. All right. You've earned your 40 seconds. So go ahead and grab some water, whatever you need. Julian gave me this for Father's Day. It's a picture of him with big shoes. So I got a bunch of little things last week. All right, what do we have next? Oh, ice skaters, of course. I just mentioned that. All right, ready? So, wide stance. This is gonna be for 40 seconds, okay? And go, so reach, come up and reach. Make sure you come up. The coming up is gonna get you more of that stretch. Okay, if you're just going here, back and forth, not gonna be doing much. So make sure you reach, come up. Twelve more seconds. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time. All right. Okay. And fire hydrants. Okay. So fire hydrants. We're gonna do 8 on each leg. All right. We'll start in about 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're doing 8 on each side. So lift that knee up and down. Keep your head looking downwards. Down. You're doing 8 on each side. You're gonna switch. Very good. All right, so take a minute. We're gonna do that full round a second time. Okay, so catch your breath. You can get those muscles sore a little bit, not too much. Anyone doing anything fun this weekend? Traveling anywhere or?
Well, I went to Prescott a couple weekends ago for a so-called wedding.
So-called? What is that?
Yeah, they didn't do it legally.
Oh.
So, that was pretty dry. It was pretty. We hit a couple of the rainstorms. Not bad. They don't last.
Oh, okay.
And then I'm going to the Angel game tonight. They're playing the A's. The A's are good this year.
Yeah. Sorry for Angels. I hear
the Padres and Dodgers are playing tonight, and it's only on Apple TV. I'm having a fit because I would have liked to watch that one.
Yeah. No, I'm just locked in with the World Cup right now, so I have no idea
what's
going on.
That's going on too.
Yeah. Alright, back to our lunges. So find the longest stretch in your area. We're gonna do 16. Hands up. And remember, if you wanna just keep that dumbbell elevated, that's fine. If you wanna add a little twist to it, that's even better. Yeah, I was watching the US game yesterday, but it wasn't of big significance because they had advanced already. But they lost in the last minute of the game. Little cricket was trying to get in. Alright, I'm at number 12. Whew. Definitely fatigues the shoulders. Alright, we did our 16 there. We are back to our inchworms to sky reach, so give yourself a tiny little break. Alright, ready? Inchworms to sky reach or shoulder taps, okay? And begin. So 4 on each side. Reach. It's 2. It's 3. Last 2, almost there. Very good. Oh, awesome. Good work. We have our ice skaters next. Okay. So again, we're spread here, and we're doing 40 seconds. Okay. 3, 2, 1, and go. Keep moving. 3, 2, 1, time. Okay, good work. And our fire hydrants. Okay, remember 8 on each side for this one. We're on our floors. We're ready. Let's go ahead and begin. So look down and lift. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. That giant set is done with. Okay. Next, we have dumbbells height pulls. Okay. Give me 1 second. Should remember on this one. Okay. So, if you remember the dumbbell height pull, dumbbells are here, almost like you're halfway down to an RDL, but then you straighten out and bring the dumbbells up. Okay. So you're pretty much doing this here. So a little bit of legs, some upper body on that one. We're doing 10. Okay, then we're gonna do our Romanian deadlift row. Okay, so that's gonna be similar. So now full RDL and then into a row. Okay, and then you come here and then row, back down, and up. Okay, doing eight of those. We have gorilla rows. So remember gorilla rows. Actually, we're gonna save that one for tomorrow because gorilla rows are more upper body. So for our legs, we're gonna go ahead and do a sumo squat, dumbbells down here, and just drop down, up, and down. Okay, it's gonna be our third movement, and then we're gonna do. We'll do it because I know some folks won't come back for the next class, but we're gonna be doing the prone Y, T, and W Supermans. Okay, that's gonna be our next set. Alright, so let's go ahead and grab our dumbbells. So again, quick demonstration. Going down slightly and then come here. So down slightly, bring those shoulders up. Ready? 10 to 12 of these. 3, 2, 1, and down. Come up. Bring those dumbbells down. Okay, so think more about bringing your dumbbells up to your shoulders. Don't engage too much on the leg portion. We just want a slight bend. So 10 to 12. That's 2. Very good. Did 12 of those. All right, we have our RDLs with our rows. So this is a complex movement using the hamstrings and your back. Okay, so for this one, if we're ready, we're gonna slightly or slowly through dumbbells go down your shins. And then when you come up, bring them up, but then now you bring the dumbbells off to your side and you straighten out. Okay, so that's 1. So slide the dumbbells down your legs, back is straight, bring the dumbbells up. Once it's about to your knees, that's where you want to just elevate them to your side, working on that row. We're doing 8. Almost there. Alrighty. Get your 30-second rest. We may have to separate that one. Not sure if I'm liking the flow of the movement. I feel by combining them, it's taking a little bit away from each of the separate movements, so I may chop that one off the program. Sometimes I see some lifts that look pretty creative and cool, and that one, it did for a minute, but not sure if I'm a fan. Sumo squats. Alright, so we're gonna have our dumbbells down here, and we're doing 10 to 12. So go down, up, 10 to 12. I'm at 10 right now. I'll put those down. Oof. Okay. We're actually gonna do the prone YTWs standing instead of on the floor. We'll focus on the floor on the next class, but let's do these standing. So if we're gonna do these standings, I do need an open wall, no obstacles or obstructions there. Okay. So now find that wall. So the first one's gonna be a Y. So we start here, and we're just gonna slide our hands up into the sky as we're raising our heels. Okay, so you do want to be up against a wall, so you're keeping that back straight. Okay, so if you're up against the wall, just make sure those elbows, the shoulders, your hands are in contact with that wall. Okay, relax your arms because we'll get a little bit tired after time. Okay, we're back here, and then now for the T. We're gonna go ahead and do almost like a snow angel, but we're gonna keep contact with the wall behind you. And then down. Okay. If we're not keeping contact with that wall, then it might not be as beneficial.
Question, Julio.
What's that?
Question.
Yes.
On this position here, is our lower back attached close to the wall too, or just the upper back?
So on this one, we are working the just kind of like the upper back and shoulders. So
Okay.
we're okay with just the upper back. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. And then now we're gonna go with the W's. So now we're here and out, and then tuck in your elbows, and then out. Yeah, good question. Yeah, there's some exercises where it looks like we could be doing the whole body, but there's an emphasis or a focus on just the torso or the shoulders, and that's one of them. One more. Good time. Ooh, things got tight around my shoulder on that one. All right, we're gonna repeat the sets, or at least 3 of the exercises. We'll skip through the RDLs. So we're gonna do the high pulls, okay, and then we're gonna do the sumo squats, and then what we just did, and then yeah, that should finish off as we're rolling into our next class. Alright, so dumbbell high pulls. Over here. And slight lean, and then bring them up to your chest. Okay, we're doing 12. Ready? And begin. So slight lean. Up. Up. Targeting the shoulders. A little bit of a stretch on the hamstrings and the glutes. Three more. 2, 1. Sumo squats. Hard to follow. Ooh. I have my big race 1 month from today. Just hit me. These training runs I was doing on the weekends, for a minute they kind of became optional for me. Not because they were, but I just got lazy, and then I realized that I'm only a month away from this big. It's an 18-mile race. It's 30 kilometers, so I gotta really get serious with my training if I want to do well there. So I was looking at results from last year, and I'm gonna try and win it, but we'll see. You never know who shows up to a race like that. Let's go with our sumo squats. If I happen to win the race, I think the prize is might be a free entry for the following year, which I wouldn't mind, because those races are about $150. So, all right, wide stance, and begin. So, 1, 2. So if anyone happens to be in the Temecula area on Saturday evening on July 25th at sunset, come say hi. I'll be racing. The race goes off at sunset. So everyone's required to take headlamps or some type of like light equipment. So everyone competing. So hopefully it's fun. Hopefully no rattlesnakes. And last one. Alright, we're back to that wall. Okay. Alrighty. Ready? The wall, so reach. And this is the only one that we're doing calf raises here. So you're reaching and you're doing calf raises. Alright, now we're going to do the snow angels here. So again, pretty much you're at your side. Keep contact with the shoulders, your back, your arms. One more. Oof. Alright. W here. Tuck in those elbows. Last one. Oh, this one's pretty taxing. And time. All right, folks. Good session. Not too bad. Hopefully we gain some function on that shoulder area. But I'll see you all tomorrow. And remember, and if I don't see you tomorrow, next week it's just going to be recordings because of the holiday. Otherwise, I'll see everyone else in the next few minutes. So, all right, everyone. See you in a little bit or later. Bye.